Hi everyone and welcome. For those of you who are new or don't remember, I shared with you all back in February that I was an egg donor. I posted on my stories about the process, but I promised a video sharing my experience, so I prepared this little video for you. Before I start, I just want to put a disclaimer out there that there are huge potential risks to donating your eggs due to the amount of hormones that you're adding to your body, as well as the potential side effects that can occur after the egg retrieval surgery. Therefore, I urge everyone to carefully do your research if you're thinking about donating your eggs before deciding this is something that you really want to do. So a few weeks ago, a PhD student reached out to me and asked if she could interview me for her dissertation on egg donors. I said yes, so we did the interview over Zoom and we recorded the entire interview.
So, first, do you feel that any part of your identity, and that can be ethnicity, sexual orientation, religion, etc., has shaped your feelings about egg donation or your decision to become an egg donor?
Um, I wouldn't really know how to explain that per se. I don't think necessarily anything has persuade me or
Mhm.
guided me into making the decision to become an egg donor. It mostly had to do with the fact that I myself, so I was a nanny prior to being a paralegal, so I love children, and I always I want a family of my own eventually someday. But I knew very young that I wanted a family, that I wanted children. And I actually have an aunt and uncle who were not able to have children.
Mm.
And seeing they had like several miscarriages, and I guess also in a sense that I come from an underprivileged background, so they didn't necessarily have the money to go through like an egg donor or surrogacy type, and so I wanted to just be able to contribute that to give people that option, just in case. And then I also feel that um, like Asians in general don't really have a large selection for egg donors or like a surrogate. And so I just wanted to, contribute to that. So there's a lot of like ties in with, I guess, my background. So yeah, I changed my mind. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Do you feel that any part of your identity has shaped how your clinic or agency thought about you when you applied to become an egg donor?
No, not at all.
All right. And then is there any part of your identity that you believe, or maybe you know for a fact, was an important factor for the intended parents who chose you as their donor?
I have no idea. I don't know anything about the intended parents, so I don't
So
know.
let's go to that question. I'm interested. So it sounds like it was an anonymous
Yes, it was
donation.
100% anonymous.
Okay. And have you donated once or multiple times?
Just once earlier this year, back in February.
Oh, recent. Wow. That was like right coming up against COVID too.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I was really lucky to was able to go through everything before pretty much a
Yeah.
shutdown.
But right before, huh?
uh,
Wow. Okay, so it was fully anonymous, and did you go through like a matching agency, or was it with like a clinic's egg donation service?
Kind of both. So they do like kind of pretty much the full service. They have a matching like the way that they match people, like intended parents and with the donors, and then it's also like full everything.
Okay, so all
Yeah,
of the whole process was with
yeah,
one
the whole
organization.
process. So they work with intended parents and donors.
Okay, cool. So and was that with an organization in the US?
Yes, yeah, locally here where I live.
Okay. Oh, cool. Okay, so in California?
Yes.
All right. And do you know where the intended parents live, or you weren't
I
given?
have no idea. For
You
I know
know
they could
literally nothing.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. Um, but do you know? Okay, maybe you'll know this. Do you know if you donated to like a specific person or people who chose you as a match, or were you donating to like an egg bank and then they would freeze the eggs and
Oh
give
no,
them?
so how it works for at least for this agency that I went through, intended parents choose their donors. So we're like all put in a database,
Yeah.
and we answer like a few questionnaires so they know basically what I look like. There's pictures of what I look like as like a child and what I look as now, and then my age and just some general like biological facts about me. The only thing that I know about them is that they were a heterosexual couple. That's it. That's all I know. Was
Very
matched
little to know.
two more times before this, and the previous two times fell through the different reasons, but they were different. I had a gay male couple who wanted to get my eggs, and then they had a surrogate, but that fell through. But yeah, I don't know how they do it, but
So this was your third match in your first cycle?
yes.
Okay, cool. And is there any part of your contract that says whether you will be notified if there is a baby?
No.
Do you wish that you would be notified?
Yeah, actually, I asked them about it, and they just straight up ignored me. They didn't even address. So right after, so probably like within the week after my removal surgery, they checked in on me to see how I was doing, and then I just gave them an update, and I also asked like, oh, it would be great. I would appreciate it if you're able to tell me if the intended parents were successful, you know, with the eggs, but they never responded.
You didn't get a response at all?
No, but I actually would like to know, just so I know that it was successful. That's it. They don't have to tell me for else.
What would it mean to you, or what do you imagine that you would feel if you found out that it was successful?
I would be really happy for the intended parents. I'm sure they've been through a lot to get to where they are. And I would just feel blessed and happy for them. Nothing really concerning on my end.
Okay, let's talk money. Were you financially compensated?
Yes, I would.
So, okay, if so, would you be willing to tell me how much and how the amount was determined?
Yeah, so it's a set amount starting at 7,000. And through this agency, every single time you donate, it increased an additional $1,000. So if I were to get matched and successfully got my eggs retrieved again, it will go up to 8,000, and then so on and so forth.
And did you have any room to negotiate that, or they just said, this is how it is?
No, yeah, it's just set.
That's how it is. Okay, this question is super nosy, so feel free. You can always decline. If any of them are ones that you don't want to answer, you can always decline. With the money that you received, what have you done? Did you save it? Did you spend it?
Well, I spent it, but I paid back my student loans. So I graduated 4 years ago, but I had to take out a lot of loans. So most of my money right now from my career is paying back those loans.
Yeah. Well, I have a friend who donated, like, I think she's done it like 10 times now.
Oh my gosh.
Not recommended, but she continues to go for it. And she paid off her loans, bought a car, bought a house,
Oh my
paid
gosh.
for her wedding. It was like her entire adult life just came together after her donations.
Yeah.
Which made me, it made me tempted to do a lot of donations, but I stopped at 5. I felt like I did 5. The 5th one I like didn't entirely want to do, but they put a lot of pressure on me. And then
there's
after
a risk to it too. Like that's like I would want to help as much as I can, but I also have to consider like my health.
Yeah, and there's not a whole ton of research saying like what the effects are long term. So that was why I stopped. But my friend, she has it really easy. Her cycles are like so easy. She feels good, and she just feels like there's no reason not to. Okay, when you decided to become an egg donor, how did you choose which agency to apply to?
How do I explain this? So I just did a ton of research. I went through a lot of agencies that were US based, but also particularly in California because I didn't want to travel. Like I didn't want to miss work for doctor's appointments because there's so many appointments to go through. So I didn't want that to kind of interact or like mess up with my work schedule. So I did a lot of research for the local ones and kind of get testimonials from other people, not necessarily people that I know, but like YouTube videos of people who've like been through it and kind of gave like a summary or a review of like how their process went and stuff like that. And that's how I ended up settling on the agency that I went with.
Nice. And do you feel like you made the right choice? Like, were you happy with the one that you chose?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, everyone was really great. So super,
That's,
super smooth. Everything went really well.
that's so awesome. Especially for your first cycle when you like don't really know what to expect. It's important to feel taken care of. Um, okay, so the next question is about like interacting with professionals in the fertility field as an egg donor. So when you were going through this process, did anyone um, suggest to you or imply that there were appropriate and inappropriate reasons to donate eggs?
No.
Okay, so did they just trust that you had your reasons and you knew what they were and they were fine?
Yeah, they didn't really kind of, dig into like why I was
Mm-hmm.
doing what I was doing. They just were very informative in terms of like what to expect. But yeah, they didn't really go talk about anything else besides, what to expect, like the steps, the procedures, the instructions, stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Um, were there any factors that made you feel hesitant or nervous when you were considering becoming an egg donor?
Definitely the self injections.
Same.
I I actually hate needles, even though I have a lot of piercings. I have a lot of tattoos. Um, I don't know, needles just freak me out, especially if I'm administering them myself because I'm not a trained professional.
Yeah.
um, and I bruise easily, like very easily. So I end up bruising a lot. It literally looked like someone just punched me in the stomach a bunch of times.
Yeah.
So out of the whole, like I wasn't even worried about the surgery because my health in general is I'm in very good health, and I don't really get sick often. And I've been under anesthesia before, so I didn't really have any concerns with that. But just like the self injections were what made me kind of uneasy. But the good thing about the agency that I went through was they let me practice, kind of like on like a skin dummy type of
Yeah.
thing. Just so I can get like really comfortable with it before I do them on myself. So that helped out a lot. And it after I think like the first day, I was fine.
Tell me what it was like doing your first one. Like, walk me through. Did you just grit your teeth and do it, or did you struggle?
Okay, so to be completely honest, I actually had my boyfriend help. I had him grab my skin like in the belly area because I just wanted to focus on administering myself.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not a trained. I wouldn't ask anyone else to do it unless that's what they do in the medical field.
Yeah.
So the only person I could really trust was myself. So I wanted to make sure that I would do them myself. But I just needed him to like hold this skin so I don't like shake and end up like poking my finger or something. So yeah, that's basically. And then I had him get like the band-aids ready because I'm a bleeder too. So I bleed. Have it ready, everything as soon as I like pull out the needle for him to like put the band-aid on immediately. I didn't want to like see. So yeah, I made sure we do it like super fast, so then I don't really have any time to like react.
Yeah. Did it get easier over time with practice, or was it a struggle the whole way through?
No, it got definitely a lot easier. It's not as bad because my pain tolerance is pretty high too. So I wasn't worried about the pain. It was just, I don't know, the needle breaking, or I don't know, something happened. I like accidentally stabbed myself somewhere else or like hit a bone. I don't.
And it's
Um,
psychological too, right? The first time
yeah.
I tried to do mine, I was like 1, 2, 3, and then I tried to move my hand, and it just didn't move. I like couldn't
Oh no.
get my hands to do the needle.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
like
like I just
called my nurse, and she laughed at me.
really fast so I would get it over with. But like in terms of like the pain and like the process of doing it, it actually got a lot easier to the point where at the end I didn't need my boyfriend's help to hold the skin. I would just do it myself, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the injections were the part that made me hesitate too. Um, okay, so when you filled out your application, what
Mm-hmm.
kinds of information did they ask you for?
So this was a long time ago actually when
Yeah.
I up. If I can remember, so definitely my name, my age, my ethnicity, um, why I was just like a brief summary of like why I want to donate. Not that it really mattered to them. I don't feel like it did. Where I'm located, am I willing to travel? Um, any like underlying like medical conditions that I'm aware of, and stuff like that.
Did
Just
they
like
ask you? Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just like the basic, like general stuff.
Did they ask you anything like about your personality that wasn't genetic? Like, did they ask you about like your hobbies or your favorite movie or anything
Yeah,
like that?
I think they did. They said like, what are some of your hobbies, or like list some interesting facts about you or something like that. I think they did.
Cool. And did they require college transcripts or test scores?
No.
Mine did. They,
Oh, really?
I had to
Well,
pay.
lucky to yeah.
Yeah, I had to pay to send like a sealed college transcript.
Yeah.
Um, do you remember if the application asked you for any information that seemed offensive, unnecessary, or just irrelevant?
I don't think so. I feel like everything they asked was pretty relevant. They even made me do kind of like a psychological test. Like I talked to like a counselor, they asked me questions, and then they asked for like a very thorough like family medical history going back to like great great grandparents if I could.
What was it like getting the medical history? Did you have that information easily available, or did you have to call up a lot of relatives?
I mean, I didn't really have to call up a lot of, so I know everyone up to my grandparents. And that was pretty much the only information I could provide because my parents, or my grandparents' parents
Mm-hmm.
they're all gone. So there's no one really to give me information about. So yeah.
So who in your personal life, your family, friends, coworkers, etc., knows that you were an egg donor?
Pretty much everyone that I'm close to. So my parents know, my boyfriend knows, my really close friends, not like acquaintances or people like occasionally hang out with, like people I talk to frequently that consider really close friends, and some coworkers.
And two follow-up questions. What
Okay.
what do you feel is like the typical reaction you get, and then what's the most memorable reaction that you've gotten when you told people?
So surprisingly, everyone was supportive of me. No one even asked me why I was doing it.
Wow.
I told them I was, and everyone was actually impressed because I don't think, or I actually don't know anyone personally who have donated their eggs.
Yeah.
So they were just really impressed that I chose, to go through with it. But yeah, I don't think I had any like reactions that was memorable. They were all just pretty much the same.
That's great. That's not always what I hear from people. Do you feel that people were impressed that you were like brave enough to undergo the medical procedure, or impressed that you were doing something really altruistic for others?
um, I think it was more they were impressed that I'm willing to know that I have some a person that's a part of me out there that I'll never get to know.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of friends who have most of them have kids, and some of them also want children in the future as well. But that's the one thing that they ask me, that I get frequently is like, aren't you afraid, you know, or aren't you worried that they're going to want to meet you, or do you want to meet them, or don't you feel weird knowing that you have like a child out there that you're not going to raise and stuff like that. I think that's what really impressed them because most of them wouldn't be able to go through with it.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask you that same question. Would you want to meet them?
Um, yes, I think I would, but at their own choice. I wouldn't force anything, and I wouldn't really care if they want like some kind of relationship or not. But it would just be nice, maybe just to know what they look like.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, I don't really have to meet them. I don't really care about that, but I'm just the one thing that I'm most curious is what they look like because, I'm sure they look somewhat like me.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I agree. Although the donors that I've talked to who have seen pictures of the babies,
Oh, lucky them.
I know I've talked to a few women who have, and they all said, no, it didn't really look like me. All babies look like aliens.
What the heck?
Like they felt like it was too young. They like couldn't tell who it
Yeah.
looked like. But I have the same thought. I like imagine looking at pictures and thinking, oh, it looks like me.
Yeah.
But apparently not everybody thinks that they do. Oh, do you feel like in like the community do you live in San Diego?
Yes, I live in San
Okay,
Diego.
so in the Southern California world, do you feel like egg donation is like generally accepted by the public?
I don't think I would know, um, because I don't know anyone personally. I never really talked to anyone else about it other than me telling people that I know that I'm choosing to go through with it, and I did, go through with it. So I don't know.
Okay, but
I
you
don't,
didn't feel like you were like doing something shady when you signed up?
no, I don't think so.
Okay.
But I can see how people can think it's shady.
Yeah, I have talked with some people who like didn't tell their family, didn't tell anyone in their community. I told everyone.
Yeah, pretty much too.
Yeah. Um, was there anything? This is about your contract that you signed
Okay.
with the agency.
Yeah.
Was there any portion of the contract that felt strange or uncomfortable to you, or that you kind of like wished you didn't have to sign?
Not strange necessarily or uncomfortable, but just something that I thought about. So part of my contract was I wouldn't get paid unless I complete the surgery, like everything. So let's say I was like halfway through my self injections and the intended parents like decide not to go further with, I wouldn't get paid a penny. And that I thought, it kind of sucks because I went through a lot. Like I went through a lot of medical appointments and I'm like harming myself
Yeah.
basically. Even though it's for the greater good, but still I think, donors should be compensated, to some extent, depending on how far along they've, went through.
Yeah. Well, when you thought about that, did you like worry that that could actually happen to you, or was it just sort of on principle? You were like, this isn't quite right.
I was actually worried that it would happen because I was matched a total of 3 times and the 2 times fell through, and then I kept telling myself, okay, luckily it didn't happen, after I already done the self injection. So that's one thing that I'm always worried about is somehow something falls through, and yeah.
Yeah, I hear that concern. I get that. Um, okay, tell me how it felt physically, like to your body, when you were doing the hormones and the whole egg donation process medically.
Okay, so I think I'm considered like an outlier because I had no reaction to the hormones whatsoever, and my surgery was completely fine. I had no pain when I woke up, and then it's like in kind of like in a common like room, and so there would be other egg donors on my side, but we'd be separated by curtains. And there's girls I would hear, oh, can I get some like Tylenol? Like I'm in so much pain. I went back to work the next day. I drove the next day. I was completely fine.
Wow, that's
I was really
that's
lucky.
amazing.
Lucky.
Yes, you were. Do you know how many eggs were retrieved?
Yeah, 26. It's a
Right. That is a lot, and I'm surprised you got that many and felt completely fine afterwards.
I know. When they told me that, it was crazy. Yeah, they said I'm very, very fertile. So
What did you feel when you heard that number? Were you like,
at, yeah, at first I didn't know how to react. I was like, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Is that too many? But then I thought I was like, I'm always going to produce eggs. Well, like right now for the most
yeah,
part. And the more, I think it's better for the intended parents. That means they have more chances of
yeah,
getting pregnant. So that's great for them.
yeah, I'm sure they were thrilled. That's a great number.
Uh,
Um, so did you feel like you had any like mood side effects from the medications or nothing at all?
no, nothing at all. I mean, other than being just groggy because of waking up from anesthesia,
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. I just got chills right after the procedure, and I was just very groggy. It took me a while to, fully regain my consciousness. But other than that, I was like, they recommended me to like eat soft foods like yogurt, and so I just ate regular food immediately after.
Wow. What a champ. They are going to want you to do this
So
again.
told me not to eat the day of my surgery, and my surgery was like in the late afternoon at like dinner time at like 5.
Whoa.
Supposed to eat, I think it was like 8 hours before
Yeah,
surgery, so I was starving.
that's the worst.
That's the worst, yeah.
Actual worst. I always remember waking up really hungry. And then you didn't have any side effects like the whole time you were doing the shots? You just felt
No,
completely normal? Wow.
yeah,
So lucky.
I don't know. Yeah, just bruising, felt completely normal. That was it.
That's incredible. Um, so when you went to the clinic to do your
Mhm.
blood draws and your ultrasounds and all of that, um, did you feel that you were treated the same as like paying clients who were there for IVF?
Yeah, I think I was.
Nice. Okay, some fun questions now. Well,
Okay.
fun. What parts of being an egg donor have been easy, fun, or empowering for you?
So the most empowering would be knowing that I was able to help a family that, went through a lot of difficulty trying to conceive. And I can resonate a lot with that just based off of what my family has gone through, my aunt and uncle specifically, and the fact that I love children. So I can't imagine, like, if I was not able to have children, I would be devastated. So that was really empowering, just knowing that I'm able to help a family. And sorry, what was the other
Um,
the
was
part?
there any part that was fun that you just like enjoyed doing?
I don't think any of it was fun necessarily. I didn't like getting my blood drawn. I
Yeah,
didn't like getting poked at. Yeah, I don't think the surgery was not fun.
yeah.
Even though I didn't have symptoms, it was just not fun. uh,
I hear that. Was there any part of it going through the process that felt like scary or disempowering?
mm, Not necessarily scary, but I was a little nervous before surgery. But I think that's just normal, just knowing that, there's risks involved, things that could happen that could be beyond, the doctor's control and your body's control. So just that. Because I know there's stories of people not waking up from anesthesia, and that in the back of my mind will always freak me out. But I try not to stress about it and worry too much. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I always have that in my mind too. But they say it's just a twilight sleep. It's 30
Yeah.
minutes.
No, it was really fast. I was like, oh, we're done already. It was like, yeah, 20 minutes.
Yeah, so quick.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe it's too soon for you to answer this, but maybe you can. So far, I guess, how has being an egg donor benefited your life?
I think it's just financially wise. Like I mentioned before, my student loan, so that really helped out a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, it does
Yeah.
make a dent. Do you feel like being an egg donor has brought any harm to your life?
um, Not from what I can tell yet. I don't know if like in the future there will be some side effects, that comes out of it. But as of right now, no, I don't think there's any harm.
Um, okay, and you don't know the results, but you would like to. Um, I'm guessing you have not had any ongoing contact with the family.
No, completely anonymous, nothing. They know what I look like. I don't even know what they look like.
Yeah. That is like the big imbalance, isn't it? That they know almost everything that
Yeah.
that one could say about oneself, but you know nothing about them.
Yeah.
Um, are you satisfied with the amount of information, virtually none, that you have about them, or do you wish that you knew more?
See, that's kind of hard for me to answer because I kind of think like different scenarios. Like if I were to know, would that push me more into being more curious and like wanting to meet the child and stuff like that and like feeling some sort of attachment? So I kind of like think about it back and forth, but I think as of right now, I'm pretty content. I think deep down, I'm okay with not knowing who they are. Um, Plus, I think privacy is important, so I respect that. So, plus it's I can understand where they're coming from as well because for them to even bring up the conversation to their child about how they were conceived and stuff might will probably be very difficult. So when they're ready, if they're ever ready. But as of right now, I'm content. I'm fine not knowing who they are.
Do you hope that they will tell the child that they were donor conceived, or would you be okay even if they didn't?
I want them to know. I think if I was donor conceived, I would want to know. Um, yeah, I think that's personally, I think that would be a horrible thing to keep that from your child. I mean, maybe finding the right time to tell them, that, you know, can be, debatable, but
Yeah.
I think they should tell their child, or I would want them to
Yeah.
at the, yeah.
Um, okay, so this question is about how you label yourself as a donor, um,
Okay.
and how you think of your genetic relationship to the potential children who could be born from your donations. So, for example, some people would call themselves the biological mother, but some donors are really uncomfortable with that and they say, I'm just the donor or I'm a genetic contributor. Do you have a particular term that feels right to you?
So I definitely would not consider myself the biological mother. So I think I would fall under the category of donor and just genetic contribution.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing that ties me to the child other than my DNA. So to me personally, just doesn't feel right to give myself any other label other than donor.
Yeah. How often do you think or wonder about the results of your donation?
At first, like right after the surgery, probably for like at least a month. And then now I don't really think about it anymore. I try not to really dwell on it
Yeah.
because what if it's bad news? What if they weren't successful? That would make me sad for me to go through all of that and for them to go through all of that, like the hopes and like all that money and for it to not be successful. That would suck.
It would suck. But you got them 26 eggs, so the odds are that they will be successful. Yeah, but I hear that concern. Um, okay, so this question is super relevant to you because your contract is very anonymous. Um,
Okay.
Thinking about the information that you put in your donor profile that was available to the family,
Hmm.
and also your robust web presence. Um, do you think that they could figure out your identity if they tried?
I don't think so. My name is actually very common. Surprisingly, people think everyone I meet says it's a unique name. It's really not. In the Vietnamese culture, there's probably only like 30 different names, and my last name is extremely common. So if they were to look me up, they would get a bunch of hits, thousands probably. Um, so no, and I don't think the agency even tells them like where I'm located for them to even narrow down their search. Just that probably I'm US based and that's probably it. And where I went to college. That's probably, you know, all like, the main information they would give them. So I don't think they will be able to find me.
Okay. I don't mean to scare you.
Because that's what I do for my job actually, is I locate people.
Oh,
Because I work in a law firm and we sue people. So I have to locate where they are to serve them subpoenas.
so you
It's
know
a lot.
all about this.
Yeah, so it's a lot harder than people think, especially if you have a really common name. Like it's not that easy.
And have you ever done anything like Ancestry.com or 23andMe?
No, I haven't. I want to someday. I'm just afraid of my results. I don't know why. Find out something that I don't want to hear. I don't know.
Yeah, they do have disclaimers on there that says like if your results ruin your life, it's not our fault, and you
Yeah.
sign it before you can sign up. Um, do you have any lingering medical, legal, or other kinds of concerns after your donation?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. What advice would you give to somebody who was considering becoming an egg donor?
That's tough. I don't know. Just because I feel like everyone's different. Um, I think the main thing is that just make sure it's something you really want to do. Because once the eggs are retrieved and the intended parents have it, you can't back out. Like if they're successful, they have a child with your eggs, like you can't back out. So just really make sure that's something you want to do because it's a huge decision. A lot of the people that I talked to that I shared the story with, what I went through, they were all really just surprised and stuff like that. And so, no, another one thing that they like frequently asked was, "Is this something you want to do?" And I was, "Yeah, I'm positive." Um, so that's just my main advice. I don't know if there's necessarily any other advice that I can give since I've only been through it once. So I'm still,
Good advice though.
yeah,
Like it really is solid advice. I think it's really easy to think of just that sort of moment of transaction, or to picture this child as being like always a baby because they were trying to get a baby and then they got a baby, so they're gonna forever have a baby. But in fact, like
yeah.
grow up, right, and they have needs and they're people, and
Yeah, and then you also have to think, well, for me, like also think about the fact is if the child does want to find you, and
yeah,
if they do find you, is how you're going to react. And so I've thought about that myself a lot too. And I still think about it every now and then because I don't think I would know how to react until that happens. Like
yeah,
I can think about it as much as I can, but I can't like plan anything because it hasn't happened yet.
yeah. And if it's 18 years from now, you'll be in a completely different part of your life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so a question about your future. I know you
Okay.
said you do want to have kids and that's important to you. Um, will you tell them that you were an egg donor?
Yes, I will when they're old enough. I like I definitely want to tell them before if like the child that was conceived with my eggs were to find me. I want my children to know, like my biological children to know first before that happens. So
Yeah.
then they're aware that it could potentially happen. So it doesn't, come to them as a shock.
And what do you? This question is probably impossible to imagine since you don't have kids yet. But what if it was your kids who said like you that they wanted to reach out to the half sibling and you haven't heard anything from the donor child yet? Would you be supportive?
um, yeah, I would be supportive. It's their choice, I mean, and when they turn 18, that's even more of their choice of what they want to do. So kind of like what you're talking about, like ancestry and 23andMe or whatever, and if that child ends up being in their database too and then they find each other, then that's what happens. There's nothing really I can do but be supportive, and I feel that being supportive just makes everyone feel more comfortable with the
Yeah.
fact that I have a child through with my eggs.
Yeah. Do you think that you will donate again, or are you interested in donating again?
I think so, especially because I had a really smooth procedure. Um, I think, yeah, and the fact that I'm very fertile, so I have like a ton of eggs that I can donate. I think I will. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. And I hope that sharing my experience helps people better understand the process that egg donors go through, and especially for those who are considering about donating their eggs.